Today's session is about, leadership and capacity building, which I'm not very much sure that if it comes under PR and Corpcom. I think it's more of a HR function, but I'm sure with your kind of experience, you'll have your own views and thoughts. And should we wait for the other panelists or should we start? Yeah. So to start with, I think the much debated or talked subject is women leadership. And in my understanding, in PR and Corpcom, still we have got a lot of women leaders at the top. But PR, Corpcom, as well as HR. But in other functions, especially, sales, I don't see too many people. So what's all your thought? I'll start with you.
See, I think the industry is now moving from being gender-based to being, ability-based. So I think that's coming, the huge change is coming. So it's no longer about you're a man or a woman.
Absolutely.
It's really about, are you competent enough to do the job? So I think that change is coming, Bhaskar.
Your thoughts? And I think, all women are born leaders because they're handling their house as well as office, doing everything, handling everything, managing everything in a professional manner. So I think everyone is a leader. Cheers for all the women leaders over here. Thanks. Your thoughts?
So I agree, we are in a brilliant profession where so many women are there and we are in good leadership profiles and positions, right? Unfortunately, it's not the same for a lot of other functions. But I'm happy to see that there is a kind of a shift coming around with more people focusing on bringing in women and helping and empowering women to come into those roles, right? So if we talk about it in technology, we have something called Women in Technology. And that is clearly focused on helping women who are brilliant, by the way, at what they do. It's just that perception is very different. Also, I think...
Welcome.
Hi.
We all are late. So, I'm coming from Gurgaon, and thanks to Gurgaon traffic, I was 5 minutes late. I was thinking that I will be at least half an hour late, but you can always blame it on Gurgaon traffic. Yeah.
Yeah, so just going back to that, so I think, yes, there is a focus that's coming in. It had started some years ago. It's gained momentum. It is continuing to happen. And organizations are focusing on getting women in leadership positions across functions. So it's no longer just the HR or the PR or Corpcom functions. We are talking about women in leadership roles, and this means across even leading organizations. And that is a position that, people are questioning. So even as employees, you have those questions coming in that, are we going to see more profiles of this kind, including some of the roles being as diverse, because now it's very clear that the more diverse we are, the better and more productive we are going to be. So, I mean, yes, it is happening.
Any challenges you see, Tehseen?
Yes, of course. In our industry, yes, it's dominated by women leaders, and I'm very happy about it. But if we talk about other sectors, so first let me talk about the urban India, and then I'll highlight the rural India. In urban India, still, women at some point of time, despite being the, enthusiastic and being talented, are not able to reach that leadership level. You know what, I was talking to Ms. Smriti Irani also about it, and I was advocating about it, that all the corporates and, this is public-private sector, both of us come together, and if we have crèche facilities and daycare facilities, because our research says that most of the women drop out when they become young mothers. They have this fear of leaving their young children behind.
That's true.
They have separation anxiety. So if we facilitate them with this, then we'll be able to retain our top level talent, which will be very good for organization, plus more women will reach the leadership level. Coming to the second part of it, because this topic is very close to my heart. For women from rural background, they do all the work, behind the scene. If you say, I work in an agriculture farm, so I train and empower women farmers. So they do all the labor-centric work, but they are never able to come in the limelight because all the financial decisions are taken by men. Land holdings, only 13% with women, rest of the land holdings are with men. So we have to bridge this gap. While I'll say I'm very happy that, women are born leaders and they are reaching that level, but we as a society and organizations have to support and give that kind of conducive environment to the women to sustain, thrive and survive. So with that, I'll pass on to the next panelist.
I hope you have understood the angle you're talking about. It's more about women leadership, not only in PR and COPCOM, but in other functions also.
So, before I start, I just wanted everybody in the room to just close their eyes for like 5 seconds and just imagine if you were unwell, who is the person that you would want to be on your side? What gender would you want the person to be? So generally you see most of the caregivers, at least in the Indian scenario, and I think it's applicable everywhere, is a lady figure. You either have your mothers when you close your eyes, and when you're unwell you want your mothers close to you, or you want your nurses, doctors. It's always a feminine figure. But unfortunately, I come from the same industry. It's the healthcare industry. I come from a research-based biopharma company where we find women only in lab coats. So most of the scientists, and we are very proud of that, are women. But unfortunately, this is not the number when it comes to sales. We find very few females in the sales force. And that is something that as an industry we have tried to correct, and we have certain initiatives which I will speak about later on during our discussion. But that is a huge challenge, and it continues to be one. We find women in our industry in support functions and only in R&D, but when it comes to business functions, when it comes to sales and numbers, we find less number of them, though the number has increased from where it was, let's say about 6-7 years back, but the numbers still are less when it comes to boardroom decisions.
True. And, of late, after COVID, I've seen that, the role of communication and role of marketing has become very critical for all brands. And suddenly corporate communication professionals are getting audience in the boardroom discussions. They are part of, all kind of strategic meeting. So how do you think that helps women leaders to be part of the, board and contribute more?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So it's important that we generally have a mix, reaction, or rather a wide view when we are taking some business decisions. So I come from manufacturing industry, and for LG, what I could say that women feedback is very, very important. Starting from a product design to an after-sales service. So I would give you an example. When you're picking up the refrigerator color, you would, rather look at women feedback because they are using it. The men are also using it. The men are
that happens at home also. I mean, whenever you go out and shop anything, my wife will take the decision. I will be that swiping the card only.
Yeah. So, and when it comes to after-sales service also, you have to see that what is the behavior of service people, because at times there are homemakers who are alone, and they have to be treated well, and there has to be a certain vocabulary which should be avoided, which should make them comfortable. So as you're saying that after COVID, communications has become a part of a lot of decision making, because COVID has changed the entire consumption behavior. And people are trying to know there are gender neutral roles. After success of, I think, Key and Ka also, people could understand that, there can be gender neutral roles. There's a long bridge to cross that, because still there are very gender limitations. But yes, you have rightly said that after COVID, the entire scenario has changed, and people have understood that, if you're using a microwave, men are also going to bake in it. And so, of course, the feedback is important from both the genders. Yeah.
Your views?
So, with technology coming in and the pace at which it is coming in, I think it totally changed the game for everyone. And I remember my time when my first child was born, there was no work from home option. I had to come back to work after 3 months.
That's true.
Now, with technology coming in, I have the option for one of my team members or anybody, whoever wants to leave, men or women, to work remotely.
Absolutely.
And I think that COVID has really, I think if the biggest thing I can say COVID really, the positive side of COVID, I think this is what it was. Technology really changed the game for us. And I think we are heading towards a future where technology is going to lead the game, and we just have to walk the talk.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like, someone like me who starts his day with a cup of tea and 7, 8 print newspapers, and during the lockdown time, I was not been able to get my print newspapers, and, I had to switch to the digital size, and I'm sure that that will be the case with a lot of people. And now as I have adopted digital, I think it's much more easier because it's connecting with people at different geographies, different time zones is much more easier. But is it a boon or is it a positive side for women leaders because they have to manage home also, they have to manage office also? Yeah, please.
So, I mean, it's not like, is it a boon or is it not, right? We are all managing, and I think men have started picking up as well and contributing. So it's no longer, at least in the urban society, I think there is that kind of contribution coming in from men. And when it is not, there are more than enough people who are going to remind you that it needs to come in. So that self-consciousness and that self-realization, I think, is slowly creeping in. But when we look at organizations, I think there is a more equal kind of conversation that has taken fold, and I'm very happy to see that happening, especially in the
Are there any challenges of acceptance? In a lot of companies I've seen that women leaders are there, but whatever they are suggesting, or it's not been considered in a better way. But do you think it's a challenge, or it's slowly going up, it's become more neutral?
So I think when I had started off, and I would go back in time where, yes, that was a challenge, and it was very difficult because if there's a man talking in the room and there's a woman talking in the room, it would have been more the man being listened to. But today, where I stand and where I'm working at, I don't see that happening. I don't see that there is any disregard because of gender or thought, and I think there are times, in fact, when they realize that the quotient of empathy that women bring in really changes the dynamics, and the value that they bring in and the perspectives that they bring in are so different and so diverse that they are literally on every decision-making table today, which was not the case early on and a couple of decades ago. So things have changed. I don't think it
has
is.
changed. Yeah.
Tehseen, Bhaskar, I wanted to add something to what you said. You said it's a boon, or is it difficult to manage home? And so funny incident. When I started working from home during COVID, my daughters and my husband came and told me, we now know how much of effort it goes in, and what you need to do through the day, because they saw me work from home. So
it's also the other way around.
So I think the appreciation quotient went up for me, and my life became much simpler.
It's actually the other way around also. While working from home, my family realized that I don't work that much, and they realized that I should come home early because I can work from home. So it's a double-edged sword, but there are challenges. There are obviously things are changing, things are getting better. But do you think that a B2B setup or a B2C setup or a listed company or an unlisted company or a bigger brand, there the acceptance of woman leader is more, or it's same with all industries? Tehseen, you want to say something? You can always add on.
I see now more and more women participation has increased, and as we started the discussion, let me say I divided it two ways, pre-COVID and post-COVID. So COVID has taught us many good things, and one thing is technology and virtually connecting through Zoom, podcast, and conveying the message. Earlier, women used to face this problem that they have to be physically present in office, and in fact all of us. So for women, it was very difficult to manage sometimes if they have an emergency or they have some important commitment. So now what has happened with this kind of flexibility that you can remotely control your work and also prioritize your personal life. This is greatly helping organizations. Coming back to your question, Bhaskar, that I feel now women, because they come with great EQ and empathy, so they are recognized as born leaders, and people sometimes prefer that if it's a woman leader, the woman leader will relate to them better, understand them better, because she will see everything with an empathetic angle, which is very, very rare. And second thing which I will say that organizations also are now supporting, and this flexible working environment is providing a lot of opportunity to learn. Like if I will take 2 hours to reach somewhere, instead of, traveling and commuting, we all, despite, of irrespective of gender I'm talking, we can utilize those 2 hours in studying and,
Absolutely.
capacity building. So these are my few points.
Yeah. You wanted to add something?
No, I think I largely did say what I had to, but I think when you were talking about not just the larger organizations, right? I think, yes, those conversations did start in the bigger companies because the world was shrinking. You were
Exactly.
headquartered out
Exactly.
of, different regions which were, faster paced. They
Yeah.
were more evolved.
Yeah.
And we've taken that on, right? Because we are now so well connected that we are learning the best practices from across, and that is translating into organizations across the board. Has everyone caught pace with it? Is everyone doing it? I don't know. And that is, I think, still a long way to go because we have
Largely, I've
continuing
seen
to-
listed companies or big brands are more into it, and the
Yeah.
smaller brands are actually not bothered
Yeah,
about.
so they are, I think, I wouldn't say they are not bothered. I think sometimes they are probably not able to. They don't have the right
Possibly.
guidance to do
Yes.
it. So I think there is a long way to go, and which is why these conversations help in pushing the needle further and just changing those dynamics a little more. And if that can impact even a small organization somewhere, I think that's helpful.
I'm sure it will happen. It will take its own time, but it's going to happen. Yeah, your thoughts?
Yeah, I have a couple of things that COVID really did to our industry. So
It
since-
generated a lot of jobs, by the way.
It did,
Yeah.
and what it did was also give, I think, healthcare its due. Right?
Yeah,
Because I mean, it threw a lot of emphasis on research.
Yeah.
And we, as a biopharma company into vaccines, etc., it gave us the well-deserved recognition. So that was number one that COVID
Yeah.
did for the industry per se. And two other things that, of course, it did was it gave also recognition and importance to mental health and well-being.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that was, I mean, I think that was the core of what changed the entire dynamics, and therefore policies, flexibility,
Absolutely.
and all that everybody said here, even in terms of technology helping. I think it has helped in that big area of mental health. And the third important thing is I'm very fortunate to come from a company which makes products for women's health. So we work for women's reproductive health, and there are a lot of studies and research that COVID threw, saying that reproductive health of women underwent a lot of change because of the mental stress that they were going through due to COVID.
That's true.
Many things that women thought were okay, and they were juggling, they would ignore. All of that surfaced to be huge problems, hormonal issues,
Yeah.
which led to a lot of reproductive issues. So, and the good thing is all of this can be managed and treated. And
Absolutely.
we as a company...
In fact, in a pre-COVID era, nobody actually thought about mental health, work-life balance. Suddenly, after
Even
the pandemic,
reproductive health, right?
Yeah,
There are a lot
absolutely.
of women who had endometriosis
Yeah.
because they were stressed. There was
Yeah.
excessive bleeding that they had to go through. There were a lot of other psychological problems which led to hormonal issues. So all of that was related, and I'm very proud to be part of a company where we make women's products and women make them. Our scientists
Oh.
are women.
Oh.
And it's so much more relatable when they
Absolutely,
come up with
absolutely.
products. So I think many things have gone wrong with COVID, but many things have also been brought into the fore. And I think it's in every problem, in every crisis, you find an opportunity. And I think it's all of these that we need to take back as learnings.
Any words?
I would
Neeta?
like to
Yeah.
add something. So
Yeah.
these are my individual views, with me and one of my colleagues. Of course, work from home has been great, and we could prioritize, our personal lives also. But there were, me and my colleague, and we both were wanting to get back to office. And every day there used to be chat that, yaar, office kab khulega? Kyun khulega? Because there was no boundary
Yeah.
when you were working
Yeah.
from home.
Yeah.
Because your folks thinks that you are available.
Yeah.
So, they don't mind coming in and asking for things which they would rather not do when you are in office.
And your
So-
office is thinking that you're wasting time. So it's a
exactly. And then you have extra pressure to prove.
Yeah.
So we were discussing in the office that day कि जब हम office में बैठते हैं तो mail का reply आता है 5 minutes में 10 minutes में.
Yeah.
But when you are working from home, the reply comes in few seconds.
Yeah,
Because everybody is under pressure
I
that,
agree.
boss, I'm working.
I
So
agree.
I think that is also very challenging in work from home scenario, especially for the women, because you have to manage both the fronts. So that also, is a challenging situation.
true.
No, but I have very different views on this. During COVID, I never faced this challenge.
So I think
What?
with this question, we'll be able to complete 40 minutes, right? Yeah.
So it's about how you balance and how you make your family understand that what time is your working time and what time is the family time. So we
But
divided
Tehseen, there is a
time.
difference. If you're staying with your in-laws and your parents are also there, the scenario is different. And if you're a nuclear family, if you're staying with a husband and kids, it's different. Yeah. Making in-laws or your own parents, making them believe that, you're managing it well, is something is very difficult and challenging.
Well, I still differ because I had my in-laws also coming and my parents, and everyone was cooperative that when I'm in that room and the door is shut means I'm working. When I'll come out means I'm available and I've finished my work. So
Awesome.
it's about balancing.
So in a lot of companies, in recent time, we have seen that apart from the senior management, they are always, creating the second line of leadership. In our company, there is an extended management team. And when you talk about extended management team, I think there is a huge requirement for mentorship. The mentorship can be from the inside the company, it can be from outside also. So what are your views on mentorship, especially at the second level, which is very important?
So again, we have this program which is called Women Touring. And this is the first
nice.
of
That's
its
nice.
kind program for the industry itself. And where
So
all...
Karan can actually do a separate story on this.
Yeah, Karan? That's for you. What happens in this program is every woman colleague, irrespective of function, irrespective of grade, irrespective of location, is mapped to a mentor.
Okay.
And that mentor could be either a male or a female, but the point is how...
Can be internal, can be external also.
Can be, currently we have started with internal.
Okay, okay.
And we'll go ahead, the next part, the phase is to get external coaches. But the point is there's so much of wealth within the organization. So internally they are mapped to mentors. And there is a whole process where there are regular calendarized meetings between the mentor and the mentee. They are tracked. Progress.
So the engagement and everything is getting tracked.
Absolutely. There is
Awesome.
a mentor playbook, there's a mentee companion book where all meetings are recorded, what is expected of a mentee in that meeting, what is expected of a mentor. And it's not that the mentor will provide you answers. That's not the job of the mentor.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
mentor will guide you to
Guide you,
find your
actually,
answers.
yeah.
So I think this initiative has helped and we are seeing results because we find that in meetings now most of our women are becoming more vocal.
Yeah.
That thing about open communication, about transparency, about empowering women to have that safety net or that culture where everyone will be heard, everyone will be respected. I think such initiatives go a long way in creating that culture.
Absolutely.
And this initiative has been recognized as one of the first in the entire biopharma world in India. So I think I'm very proud, and as a communicator, I think the joy has been to actually communicate the program both internally and externally.
Yeah.
So I think that is a double delight that is there. But I think such programs really redefine what mentorship is all about.
I think in every company you have seen this thing. I mean, this is my personal opinion that whenever there is anything, the corporate communication people are generally para-dropped in. You handle it, right? But mentorship is something which is much larger subject. It cannot be the corporate communications role to drive it.
From
Yeah,
the
yeah,
top to the-
yeah. But Anupama, how do you think mentorship can help the second line of leaders and also below them? When you talk about mentorship and leadership and creating a larger pool of skilled manpower, how do you think mentorship can help? And do you think that a external mentor or a internal and a mentor who is inside the company, which will be more preferred?
See, I think mentorship can definitely help because here is someone who's walked the path before you have.
Yeah.
You know, they have, so they can be your coach and guide
Yeah.
to be able to tell you. It's like, you know, you're standing at a junction
Yeah.
and you have 4 paths to choose. Or standing in a food court today and looking at, you know, 500 things you could eat.
True,
But,
true,
you know,
true.
which is the right way to go. And that's where the
And
mentor plays
especially
the
for the
role.
second line of, you know, leadership, they always want to do more.
Absolutely.
And there is a need for someone who can come and say, you have to concentrate your energy in first 3 things, and the rest can be in the second quarter or the third quarter.
Absolutely. But the thing with mentorship is, see, it can't be forced.
It cannot
You
be
can't,
forced. Yeah.
and I've, from my experience in other organizations, you know, we had made this mandatory in one of our other companies where we said, you're the boss or you're this mentor. You have to be. You have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, then it just tanked for us.
Yeah.
But when we realized, because it has to be voluntary, I have to be passionate about mentorship. And the person who is coming to me for mentorship also has to have the passion, you know, to be able to, you know, ask the questions and use my time well. Otherwise, it doesn't work because,
It doesn't work, yeah.
you know, then it becomes like a KRA that I need to take
Yeah.
off on my sheet. And I said, you know, so which is why it's very important that you have the right mentors
Yeah.
with the right passion and make it easier, you know,
Absolutely.
for them to be able to do.
Absolutely.
Now, in terms of the second line of mentors, second line of leadership, very critical. You look up to people, you know, you want to emulate. And
Yeah.
if you can guide me, and sometimes I'm not comfortable talking to my boss, right? With the same
Absolutely.
situation.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to go have that opinion from someone else.
Especially if it's a
who can-
cross-function thing, it's far better.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think in my experience, something like this, if you put in place,
Yeah.
definitely works. And mentorship really goes a long way. I mean, I've had great mentors. So, and I really, you know, appreciate all the, in foresight, I really appreciate, you know, the way they have guided me through my journey.
Perfect.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to add here that it's not just for the second line, Bhaskar. I think the point is that, you know, the best way to learn is to teach, and that is a continuous journey.
Absolutely.
It's not that when you reach a certain level, then you become a mentor, you're still a mentee.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
still
yeah.
learning.
Yeah.
So I think that I think in most cases, mentorship works when an organization creates a culture where, you know,
Absolutely,
people
the culture-
want to
yeah,
learn
absolutely.
and people are humbled when they learn.
Yeah, yeah. And it flows from the top management only, you know.
Absolutely. So I think it's more to do also from you know, changing your entire mindset about learning today. I mean, sad to say, and my son is 17 now, but you know, the way you learn in school is totally different
Yeah,
from
yeah,
you know, your
yeah,
work, right?
yeah.
But the way we learn is we are taught.
Yeah.
You're taught something, then you become good at it, then you become very good at it, and
True,
then
true,
you
true,
do
true,
that
true,
well.
true.
But I think mentorship is the reverse, right? You are
Yeah.
allowed to make mistakes, you are allowed to discuss those mistakes. But the point is, I think organizations also need to be that much more, you know, savvy to
Yeah.
to allow leaders to learn from mistakes
Absolutely.
and not judge them for failures. I think,
Absolutely,
you know, when organizations start looking at that in a wholesome manner, I
Yeah,
think that's when
yeah.
mentorship succeeds.
And I agree, you know, it has to be a, you know, top-down approach, otherwise it's not going to work. Neeta, you work with LG and, you know, you have got multiple outlets where there are, you know, multiple people who are working for LG. How do you think mentorship is different at that level and at the second level? Yeah.
So, as you have rightly said, we have a retail level,
Yeah.
right? Like you have, let's say, more than 1,000 brand stores across India.
Absolutely.
So, of course, it is a very, very, you know, huge, vast operations which you need to take care of. And
Yeah.
there are some nitty-gritties. So, the organization ensures that there has to be a succession line
Yes.
and there has to be a guidance.
Yes.
Because I would talk about my personal experience. In one of the key departments, there was a change of head of department. He came and he asked his next line that I don't see any part leaders. So we have a structure where we have a department head, we have a team leader and a part leader and a team member. So he said the team leaders haven't created part leaders. So his first day of joining, and he said, I am not going to accept this.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow if you're not going to be in the office or you decide to leave the organization, so you know that person went into defense, sir, I'm working for past 17 years, how can you say that?
Absolutely.
He said, that's fine. But you need to have a chain of people who are learning the skills and who are helping the market, because the market cannot afford not to have a person at a certain location.
Absolutely.
So I think a lot of us feel insecure also. Again, talking about my personal experience. 2 weeks back, I got a mail from HR that, please share your succession plan.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
of course, I was out. and-
You're getting the mail just before March. It's not a very.
Yeah, I know. So I did not reply, and I got a mail. I got a follow up. I said, यार तुम लोग लेटर तो नहीं निकालने वाले हो, तुम लोग मुझसे ही नाम पूछ रहे हो. So if they are like, no, it's a HQ driven exercise, and they are driving it across 54 subsidiaries.
Yeah.
But because you're not sensitized, and you know, sometimes as an individual we feel insecure. So I have seen around me also that we don't feel confident to create succession line. But I think for businesses, for families, it's very, very important.
So Soumya, do you think that mentorship is restricted to only to the function of the team, or it should be more of cross function? I feel cross function is better because then you learn something different, and also you don't have that pressure of reporting to your boss. Whatever the boss says, you have to agree to it.
So that is interesting because internal mobility is actually one
Yeah.
of the key things that we do have, right, at the S&P, and that is something that we see happen not infrequently. It's actually quite frequent where you're looking at certain functions and you want to try something new, you want to explore something else. Sometimes you take it as a stretch assignment where you're like, while I'm doing this, I want to explore if that's what I'm good at. What is also interesting is that you can have constant conversations. So you don't have to wait for a year-end review or a half-year performance appraisal, right? So there are those continuous conversations that you have where you can figure out, am I going to be good at what I'm doing? So, you have your mentors to help you do that. You have your leaders to help you do that. You have leadership training programs that help you understand what are the various avenues that you have. And I think a lot of organizations now are giving education support as well, where you can train yourself and upskill and reskill yourself to just become really good.
Even in agencies, they have started that. A lot of agencies are spending a lot of money, energy, in upgrading the.
So I also wanted to add here that, the mentorship definition that we have is a little too classical and old. When you look at the generation, the newer guys, they don't care if you have white hair, if you don't. If you have a problem, they are bold enough to come and say, listen, I'm stuck.
The white hair was meant to me, or it
No,
was
I
in
also have
generic?
them,
Yeah,
I've
okay,
colored
okay,
them,
okay,
so,
okay.
so don't worry, you have company.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, the youngsters of today don't fear that, which probably was
They also have this attitude of know everything,
no, I think
before
it's
anyone
more
can say
an
anything.
attitude of learning everything also. And that thirst for learning, that thirst for finding new ways to do things, smarter ways of doing things. I have a very young team member, and the way she approaches, and for her, the way she does, it's really different. When we talk to our set of people, we have our problems and we discuss them as if, okay, you have to approach a mentor, and it's a very formal thing. But I think with the younger generation, and most of us now will have younger team members joining us, I think they love informal conversations. They love to be part of what you're doing. They're not going to wait to be asked, do you want to join in? They just roll up their sleeves, they're there, they want to learn. I think with that set of audience, also the definition of mentorship is different. And I think in our organizations, we need to be more fluid. When
So
it
I've
comes
got,
to those
I've got 5 women leaders over here. How much time do you dedicate to, do mentorship for your own team? Whether they are enrolling to it? Yeah, Anupama, if you have.
So I think it's like, you rightly said, it's every day.
It's every day,
It's every day.
Yeah.
So if someone, you have to make the environment available for someone to be approachable, so that they can reach out to you anytime they want. And absolutely, with Gen Zs entering the workforce, it's a totally different ball game.
And especially for you leading the marketing function, and that too for a foundation, I think making them understand the cause as well as what the desired outcome is something which has to be chalked down properly.
Absolutely, the Gen Zers are very close. They really want to give back to the society. So if you, they're very well connected to the roots. Let me say that. With all the other things that they bring, but I think they're very well connected. So I think it's really important to be approachable and mentor every day. I mean, I don't look for a specific day. It's like make every day a mentorship day. Have that conversation, and you don't wait for the person to come to you. I sometimes, if I feel there is something that I want to say, I just pick up the phone and call. WhatsApp, email, don't overwhelm, but at the same time, just make sure that the communication goes through. So that's how I do it today.
Absolutely. Neeta, anything you want to add on?
The only challenge which we face is that, you know, the Gen Z and the younger generation. In fact, my son is...
Let me see how many Gen Z are here. I mean, no offense meant to them, it's just personal experience. Yeah. Yeah.
So my son is 14 years old, and the kind of generation, you know, they don't like the teaching mode.
Absolutely. You know,
And,
just to...
and वो बोलते हैं हम आपको बताते हैं, मतलब
Yeah.
आप हमें क्या बता रहे हो?
Yeah.
Just, you know, listen our perspective. So
Yeah.
it becomes a challenge. So you have to tell them that, you know, you have to look at a pragmatic world also, because they have some brilliant ideas, but at times they don't assess the real life environment. So you
Absolutely.
have to come to their level and talk. And of course, as rightly said, they are looking for more informal conversations.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
don't want to be
Yeah.
taught at all.
True,
That's for sure.
true. Yeah, any thoughts?
I just feel that, you know, nobody becomes a mentor. Like all of us have learned. And
Actually.
all of us are, you know, everybody
I think the
nobody
evolution has-
says I'm a
yeah.
mentor when you start. There's not a qualification, right?
True,
no one
true.
says I'm a
It has,
mentor.
it has to come automatically.
Yeah, and I think it's the more you learn and the more you give back, I think you know, that's when people start recognizing your value.
True.
And people start coming to you.
True.
And just on a lighter note, I think Karan has a good eye for mentors, because I recollect that, you know, when this summit started,
Yeah.
and the first award series,
Yeah.
he gave me the mentor of the year. So Karan,
Oh.
I think you have a good eye for mentors. Huh?
All four of us were missed, Karan. So if you
Can
start
add
that
them now.
initiative again, please consider us also. But yeah, coming to the, you know, younger generation, I've got a 14-year-old son. I know, just few days back, I went to his room and he said, "Can I have some privacy?" So, you know, it's happening I mean, he's going to work in another, say, 8 to 10 years of time. That mindset is very difficult to manage. And I'll not say it always has to be mentorship, but it's more of guiding. You know, guiding them that this is 3 things, 4 things you should do, and these are the 5 things you should not do. Yeah. Tehseen, anything to add on?
Yeah, I'll say leadership is a journey, not a destination. So as a leader, we have to continuously keep learning. And while we learn, we automatically and, you know, naturally become mentors. We don't have to say that, you know, we can mentor you. I know there are so many team members.
It cannot be a forced thing. It
No,
cannot be a
no,
forced
not
thing.
at all. So I was in field doing some field stories, because I work with the farming community, and while I was at NDTV, I used to go with teams, travel for a long time. So when people know you and you show them by your skill set, by your leadership style, and by being flexible, these days in leadership, you have to be a continuous learner and you have to be very flexible. Like you have to deal with millennials, Gen Z, then you have to deal with, you know, all sorts of people, like, you know, at age group, then, you know, I have to deal with the rural women. So then you have to be very flexible in your approach as a leader, and they will automatically respect you and they will automatically take you as a mentor. And while I am saying this, I have learned this hard from a woman mentor. The toughest boss who's considered in the industry, Soumya Singh, the editorial of NDTV. I worked with her for 10 years, and what I learned from her, that apart from, you know, delivering your work, you know, being thorough at your work, be an empathetic human being. Don't forget humanity, and also keep mentoring others. And, you know, once we climb that stairs, then we also have to guide others how we have climbed and how to
Absolutely.
reach that top. So if we do this and we create a chain, then it will automatically happen. Yes, in my organization, there is a formal mentorship program, but I keep
But do
suggesting...
you really think these formal mentorship programs work?
No. I have told my board members
It
that,
depends
you know,
on brand to
it
brand.
doesn't work.
I think we have a different opinion. I think it works.
Okay, let her, you know, share her thoughts.
So
Yeah.
I will say why, because, you know, see, I'm working in an MNC. If someone in global whom I have not met, and that personal touch is very important, is being made my mentor, that this person is your mentor, you connect on a weekly, bi-weekly call with this person, and you know, I don't know boundaries, the distance, the virtual connection, I am not able to connect to that mentor. But if I walk in my own office and I see someone, and that mentor can be someone, I learn a lot from the office assistant, because he's very prompt in his work, and I tell him that, Sanjay ji, you are very organized. I learn from you that you know how you are multitasking and juggling. So similarly, when I see a person being my role model, and I tell that person, look, I want you to be my mentor, that's a different story, rather being assigned a mentor who's sitting somewhere and we are connecting virtually and not understanding what I want to learn from my mentor and what qualities my mentor has, which I can, take it forward.
So you have
this
been,
is-
certainly you have been told that the time is up, but still we'll go on. Yeah? Okay. So one last question. How much learning is required for the mentors also? I will tell you why. In our office, it's mandated that the corporate commission department has to learn Canva. Now I'm struggling with Canva. I have got one intern who's making me learn Canva, and my second mentor is my son. Right. So any thoughts on that? And with this last question, we'll close up the session.
Yeah.
Serious note, Bhaskar, Canva is easy.
Yeah, I know.
You don't have to worry about
You
it.
talked about the grey hair, maybe that is the reason.
No, Canva is easy.
Yeah.
So I think a reverse mentoring is where that comes
Absolutely.
in, right?
Absolutely.
And which is what we have started, and it's very successful.
Yeah.
It is something where I think leaders realize that they have so much that they can learn from people
Absolutely.
who are reporting to them or even cross-functionally. And I think that's a great tool.
Yeah. Any last thought before?
Just, I would say, the strength really lies in being humble and, the willingness to learn.
Yeah.
So you learn everything, so many things from, people every day.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the crux of leadership lies.
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
use the strengths of the people, learn, and, you take people along as you go up. And that's really been
Perfect.
the crux of leadership. Take people along, they grow, you grow, they grow.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that for me.